What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and our guy, Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening. If you're tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. It is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Tune in from there so we can see and interact with your comments. We're not ignoring you on Twitter. We just cannot see them. While you're there, hit like, hit subscribe. We appreciate all the support. We got a fantastic show, like I said, and these are going to be continuing throughout the season, of course. So subscribe while you're there. You don't want to miss a single minute of content. Now that I got that entire spiel out, Matt, how you doing? I see you got something you're showing off there.
Yeah, man. Listen, I went today, fantasy football champion. We had our draft, our yearly draft. I won it last year. Today was belt presentation and draft day, so it's an exciting time for me. Football is jumping off, and the 49ers had a pretty good game yesterday. Pair that with today, and I'm doing pretty good, man. How's everybody else doing?
So what's up, Mike? How you doing?
Yeah, man, all is well. It is officially draft season. I am literally in the middle of one right now. So if I'm randomly just like Jerry Judy, like, I'm sorry, I apologize in advance. But everything else is going good, man. We had a really good, entertaining game last night. One that I was inspired to watch all the way through. And I can't wait to break it down, man. I have no complaints right now.
Love it. I love it. All right, guys. First things first, I know you guys are just such in need of more quarterback talk. So let's get into it. Let's get all the way into it. Three quarterbacks played for the 49ers yesterday. Brock Purdy started, had one series, finished 4 for 5, I think. 4 for 5, 65 yards. Kind of got stalled on that drive due to a missed block by Tyrion Davis-Price. Settle for a field goal. Mike, I'll start with you. What did you think of Brock Purdy's return? First actions, it's obviously the championship in January.
Yeah, no, I think Brock Purdy looked really, really good. I was happy to see him out there. No hesitation. Obviously, you could tell that it was in a scripted offense. So the decisions were quick and kind of preset for him unless someone fell down or something like that. And he executed it flawlessly. This is what we know a Kyle Shanahan offense looks like when things are running properly. This is what we know. Jimmy Garoppolo, right? It was always what happens after the script. What happens after the script? But during the scripted plays, it's boom, boom, boom. It's clockwork is rhythmic. And that's exactly what we saw. I didn't see Brock showing any signs of hesitation. I didn't see him not trusting his arm. There was the play where he broke out and ran behind the left tackle. And then he had Brandon Ayuk for the short, easy one, but he decided to throw it a little bit deeper over Ayuk, over a defender, but had to also drop it into Jawan Jennings. I love seeing him make that decision versus the easy one. I have no complaints at all, man. The 49ers are in good hands. That's what I learned. They're in really good hands.
Nice. I like that a lot. I was impressed to see him. I know a lot of people were kind of, I don't want to say cheapening what he did, but using the excuse of, well, they were short throws. Debo did the rest of the work. But that's working within the system. Timing was right. Accuracy was right. And not to take shots at Trey Lance, but those are some of the throws that we saw him miss previously. The gimme throws, short underneath, and let the receiver do the rest of the work. Matt, what were your thoughts on Purdy's return?
I think it was Exhibit A into why Kyle wants him to be QB1. I think it's pretty easy to see that he has a good grip on the offense. And like Mike said, the best throw I thought that he made was that second level throw to Jawan Jennings. It showed that he had confidence in his arm. There was zip on that ball. I mean, he put it there. And that was a throw that was not easy to make. It was rolling to his left. He had to reset his body and throw it, even more to the left of himself after he reset. And those are the type of throws that after an arm surgery, you're like, can he make that throw? And so a lot of the people, and they won't admit it because they don't want to be wrong. And anybody who has a horse in the race will sit there and downplay and say, oh, well, he was throwing Grant Cohn. I'm talking about you. Oh, this was screen game. Oh, this was easy stuff. Oh, this was whatever. And it's like, listen, dude, this is Kyle Shanahan's offense. Kyle Shanahan runs a lot of screens, but instead of bouncing one into the dirt or overthrowing Dwelly by 7 yards, Brock Purdy put it absolutely everywhere where he needed to go. I don't think that I saw an errant throw from Brock Purdy the entire time that he was slinging it. So that bodes well for the 49ers going forward. So you have the nice second level throw. Shout outs, by the way, to Debo Samuel, who looked very quick. I mean, very quick. Like the 2 touches that he got, he moved the ball real well.
And
so
thin.
I know. I first of all, Greg Papa sucks. Sorry, no offense to Greg Papa, but
No,
It's
all
painful.
offense to him. He was pissing me off. Fuck,
All right.
forget that. I'm sorry.
Listen,
I almost cursed.
That broadcast, that Capex broadcast is just a rough listen. I just got to be honest. I usually watch the 49ers on the national broadcast. So we get for as much as people, complain about when we get people like, Spielman or whatever, Spiro, what's his name? Spiro, whatever his name is. We get like the B reporter, the B guys a lot of times, but this was like the F guys. I mean, Papa was just terrible. That notwithstanding, I mean, Purdy drove the ball right down the field. It was easy the way that they moved down the field, and it did stall out. But if you watch, I think I posted it in the chat. It's a meme from the movie Major League, where the coach goes out and he's like, "Come on, Dorn, don't give me none of this Olay bullshit." And that's exactly what CDP did. Like, he whiffed as bad as you can whiff on that cut block.
Yeah,
and that put Purdy in a position where he had to figure out, okay, well, now I got 2 free rushers instead of 1. The guy who was supposed to be chipped is now running back and pinching me together. And, the only thing that I saw from Purdy that I didn't necessarily like was on the next play where I felt like he had a receiver in the end zone and he chose to pull the ball and run it. Right. And that was on that 3rd down play. I thought that maybe he could have got it in there. I understand that it would have been a tight window throw, and maybe he decided that he didn't necessarily want to throw it at that time. Overall, I thought Brock Purdy did an excellent job, though, and really showed why Kyle Shanahan has put him at the QB1 spot. And we can get into QB2 and QB3 or whatever, but I also think that there was a big, big development in QB2 as well. So, shout out to Brock Purdy, who did a great game.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, I just want to plug one of my own tweets, not to, pat myself on the back too much. I think this is exactly what's going on, and I just want to share it because it's happening a lot. And I tweeted, "Be careful who you listen to on this app," referring to Twitter, that simply will not change their mind regardless of any new information being presented. It's possible for Trey Lance to look much better while still having things to improve upon. Those that remain steadfast in their beliefs and believing or disbelieving certain things to suit their narratives are 100% disingenuous. Always be willing to admit you were wrong, especially on something as fluid as a player evaluation. I've seen this on Twitter since last night. People are either saying this, reinforces their belief that Darnold is trash. This now proves, or this doesn't prove anything about Trey Lance. New information can be presented and allow yourself to change your beliefs when this new information is. It's like, the world isn't flat. People don't believe the world is flat because new information was presented to prove that it's a globe. So with Trey Lance, with players, if they can prove that they can do something, now you can believe, okay, maybe I was wrong about this guy ain't it, or this guy is it. It's possible to allow yourself to change. I've just seen so many people so cemented in their beliefs with these specific quarterbacks. It's bothering me, and it's really getting to like the heart of my soul, if you guys know what I mean. So just wanted to get that out there.
I also wanted to second something that Matt said. He said that the KPIX broadcast was just terrible and hard to listen to. You two keep referring to the first drive as being stalled, but I heard Papa distinctly say at the 2-minute warning that Trey Lance led the team on an opening drive touchdown drive. Yep. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. Everyone else got it wrong. He scored on that drive.
I heard that too. I was cracking up. Besides the Brock Purdy opening touchdown. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, so my favorite commentary over the weekend about the game was Grant saying that Kyle manufactured that touchdown drive for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Pulled out all the bells and whistles.
Either you want Kyle Shanahan to call good plays, which allows the players to get in position to succeed, or you don't. Like, how you can't have it both ways. Did Darnold go out there and execute on that touchdown drive? Yes, he did. He actually had a really nice throw on 3rd down to Newsome to the sideline on that out route. That was like pinpoint, like just where he could get it. Now, was he fantastic? No, he wasn't. And we'll get to that. I think that Darnold definitely looks like the 3rd best QB on this team in game action, at least. I think that it's easy to look good against 3s, and then you come in against the 2s and you look a little more shaky. But he looked okay. And to say that touchdown drive was all manufactured by Kyle Shanahan, it's like, well, even if it was, that's the coach's job.
That's his job.
Like,
Yeah.
no shit.
Yes.
You want to call plays that are gonna work. Like, what you want him to call like shitty plays and then see if the player can overcome that? Like, who? So he's sabotaging Trey Lance one week and then gift wrapping for Darnold the next week. It's preposterous.
Yeah.
And all respect that I had for Grant Cohn has gone out the window because he's playing himself. He's emotionally invested in this thing in a way that's clouding his judgment and making him say just the silliest shit. And it's baffling to me how he still has people that just lap up everything that he says. It's like, dude, you can like Trey Lance, but then acknowledge that other people are playing good too. And it's exactly what Zach was talking about. It's like all these things can be true, right? That drive for Darnold was nice, but also Trey Lance looked better than him in the game.
Yeah.
Right? Trey Lance showed a lot of improvement, but also Brock Purdy against the ones looked really good. All these things can be true. And it's become such a tribal situation where instead of rooting for the 49ers as an organization, everybody has their horse in the race. And no matter what happens, they got to root for that horse no matter what. And it's embarrassing. You know, all those videos of the fights in the stands. I think Grant Cohn, you know, he was just like, hey, this is the most 49ers Twitter video I've ever seen. It's so on the nose. And I'm like, absolutely. That's exactly what 49ers Twitter is like. It's just embarrassing, man.
Yeah. So I saw Al Sacco, who I really appreciate his
Same great tweet.
He tweeted
I
out
posted that too.
Is so is Brock Purdy being sabotaged by coming out with all these throws, because that was the narrative last week that Kyle was trying to sabotage Trey Lance by having him throw 6 of his first 7 or whatever the hell the number was of his first couple of dropbacks. But that's conveniently not the narrative this week. So we can move on to quarterback 2. We got our thoughts off on Brock Purdy. Matt, we talked about Sam Darnold a little bit. I thought he looked okay. I was a little bit let down, to be honest with you. I was expecting more considering what we saw from him. The first preseason game against the Raiders, I thought he looked better then than he did last night versus the Broncos. He was accurate. He unfortunately had another Ronnie Bell tipped pass, hit him right in the face mask that was intercepted. He dropped a couple of nice passes. I think his best throw of the day was called back, unfortunately, a second level throw. I think it was to Willie Snead that ended up being called back for a holding. Mike, I'm going to toss it to you. What did you think of Sam Darnold and his performance?
I think that Sam Darnold through 2 games has the 2 best throws of any 49ers quarterback so far. But with that said, I did think that his performance was a little bit of a step back. I specifically made it a point to watch if he even attempted throws to the left. There were 2. One of them was a check down to Mason, and the other one that wasn't a check down was a poorly thrown pass that was incomplete. It's almost like that side of the field doesn't exist for him. It's a real struggle. And if I can see that through just 2 quick-ass preseason games, that's going to be a problem if he has to get in and get real time. He's really solid when it comes to hitting that first read. Again, operating this system in rhythm. But anything that's off schedule or if he has to make any off-platform throws, I'm just not super confident in him. But I still analyze him with kind of kid gloves because, guys, we got to remember he's been in the system for just a couple of months. It's a lot to take in. He is working with a plethora of different players at skill positions, trying to get to know everybody, working with the ones all the way down through the 4th string. It's going to be hard to create any rhythm, any timing with your guys, and you're really just out there just kind of throwing the spots and hoping for the best. So it's going to be tough for all the backups like that.
Yeah, 100%. What did you, and Matt, I'm going to toss it to you. What did you make of, we had previously been told that each quarterback would get a half. Sam Darnold got, I want to say, another 2 or 3 series of the second half. Did you take anything away from that? Or was that just Kyle, like he said, oh, I didn't get enough time in the first half?
No, I think when Kyle says, Brock Purdy took them on a drive and then the Broncos got a drive, that was something that was real. I don't think that Sam Darnold got as much as what Kyle was looking for. So he just played him a little longer. And it is what it is, man. Like, when you look at the stats, I mean, people complain, Lance played way late and he got in with like a minute 22 of the third quarter or whatever and played the fourth quarter. But he had 18 pass attempts in that time. And situationally, in terms of the football situation, I thought that Trey Lance, there was much more to pick out of that. And people will say, oh, it's just against the threes. But I think that the last two drives that Trey Lance had, particularly after what I thought was the worst throw of the day, which was the pick on the screen pass that the defensive lineman's right there and Trey Lance decides to throw it anyway with like no touch, very flat ball that was able to, be intercepted. That was probably the worst throw by any quarterback on the day, but he was able to overcome that and come back in two straight drives, including the drive that essentially was a game winner. They could have scored a touchdown, and Kyle slow rolled that to be able to give Jake Moody a chance to make up for the missed extra point earlier, which I think by allowing Jake Moody to go back out there and kick that field goal, I think it's pretty clear the 49ers are all in on him, and Zane Gonzalez is going to be traded or cut. Because if you thought that, and this is why I say that, if you were down on him for missing those kicks, then Zane Gonzalez goes out there and does something. But he let Moody go out there with a game on the line to give him that game experience. And that shows that there's something invested in this rookie, obviously third-round pick. That being said, I think that Trey Lance got the much more meaningful play, even though it was less time. And I think that, again, Kyle Shanahan explained it. There was only a little bit of time, and like the first drive was a really quick 3 and out. And he just wanted to give Sam that first half that Trey ended up getting the last time. When we look at game one, Sam Darnold didn't get a half. He got like a quarter, right? And then Brandon Allen came in the game and finished it off. Brandon Allen didn't play at all this last game. Trey got the rest of the time. So I think it was pretty commiserate for game to game. They kind of swapped them. But again, I thought what Trey Lance was able to do after that interception was really, really good. Darnold was efficient, 11 of 14, 109 yards. He had that interception, which again, that was a Ronnie Bell mistake, which, God, man, if he can just get his ball security up, he balled out, man. Like, he looks really good for this team. But, I think that Trey Lance did more with the playing time than what Sam Darnold did. And I thought it was much more impressive what Trey Lance did, even against like the lower rung players.
We got a super chat here from our guy, Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. He says, I assume it's laugh my butt off. What a fool. The world isn't flat. Next, you'll say we haven't been to the moon. Anyway, are any of you concerned about Wilkes? Questionable play calls, bend and collapse D. I think Martin and Bell might press McLeod and Gray, especially with the injuries. Martin and Bell have been seizing the opportunities. But let's get to his first question. Are either of you guys worried about Steve Wilkes? I know it's only been 2 preseason games. Is the opposing team's ability to drive the ball down the field concerning either of you? At least they were at times.
Not really for me. I mean, I think that, they were able to get some stuff going, but at the end of the day, we were still missing a lot of starters. So this is still preseason. I think the biggest thing that I see from Wilkes that we're missing is the fact that he calls plays from the booth rather than down on the sideline. And I think some of that like pump up mentality could be missing, and that could change in the regular season. But for now, he's kind of up there. But overall, it's hard to judge, man, because this was the same backups that got dog walked by the Las Vegas Raiders all day. Aiden O'Connell looking like a first round pick, right? So they come in this game. They're a little bit better, but they still give up some stuff. I thought that the starters played relatively well for the time that they got. I think they only scored 3 points on the first unit as it was. And This team has always been a team that we've seen it, right? Where there will be a 3rd and long and they just get it in under the wire, or there'll be, for example, Talanoa Hufanga had a holding penalty against him that extended a drive early in the game. We've seen that before. So this is nothing new. I don't take too much away from preseason game 2 where your second and third stringers are kind of doing the bend don't break thing. I think that's the nature of preseason football, and the ones I thought did a good enough job missing some key starters to really get the job done.
I'll just say real quick before I toss it to Mike, I'm not going to judge him until he gets Nick Bosa in there. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I think you should. I think you should judge him, because who knows when Nick Bosa is going to get here. Let me tell you, those Bosa brothers are all about business. And if that money is not right, Nick Bosa will hold out. That family can support and maintain that young man. He is not a one-man financial answer for his entire family. It's quite the opposite. They are business-first people. I won't say business first. They value business as much as they value their production on the field. I do believe that Nick Bosa is in shape. He'll come in ready, or as ready as he could physically be without actually playing football. But he should be looking for an alternative. And at this point, as long as this is taking, we should also be expecting some sort of soft tissue injury or something when Nick Bosa does return. I don't think that holdouts that happen and take this long. I don't have any stats to prove it or anything, but I'm willing to bet that there are some consistent injuries with players who hold out this long into the offseason program or into the training camp session. So we'll see what happens. He's going to have to do something without Nick Bosa, and I did not like what I saw from a pass rushing perspective. Some of the blitzes were very painfully obvious. Hufanga lining up at the line of scrimmage and never even standing on his heels, to pretend like he's going to drop back or anything. It was just everything felt painfully obvious. I will say that secondary looks so much improved. I get it. There were some big plays that they gave up, right? Things are going to happen from time to time. However, there were two coverage sacks in this game, where the quarterback is just moving around back there forever, and then finally the line gets home. That's cool. I'd much rather have solid coverage than, mediocre coverage and phenomenal pass rush. Give me, if I got to take one being solid and the other being mediocre, give me the solid coverage and then the mediocre pass rush as opposed to the other way around.
Okay, interesting.
No, and I think Zach and I talked about this a little bit on the last show that we did, the game preview. And it's my go-to right now on Twitter or whatever. Anytime somebody talks about these fucking quarterbacks, I'm like, hey, where's Bosa? That's what I'm concerned about, right? And we really need to look at the way that the team does business, particularly Parag Marate. And I would like Jed York and John Lynch to go to Parag and be like, just fucking pay Nick Bosa. Because at this point, it's getting real late, right? Mm-hmm. By this point, Kittle had his extension. Warner had his extension. Debo had his extension. At this point, we're getting to the point, and Mike, you touched on it. Bosa can stay in as good a shape as he wants to. There's a difference between gym shape and football shape, and Bosa does not have those calluses going into the season of taking hits, of being physical, of all that stuff. And it's a tale as old as time where a guy holds out, doesn't come to camp, doesn't get those calluses, and then he gets his contract, comes in, and it's like some bullshit injury, right? Or it's just a complete knick-knack injury. The whole season, he's just nicked up the whole time. And I like to avoid that. So you already know he's going to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Just get it done. Get the contract in his hands, sign it, get him out there, and let's put all this behind us because this defense kind of goes as Nick Bosa goes. Yeah, straight up.
And we talked about on Friday too, Matt. Remember, John Lynch said today, weeks ago, 3 weeks out from the beginning of the regular season, if he's not signed by then, you should be concerned. I'm paraphrasing. That's essentially the question he was asked. When should we be concerned if a deal is not done? I'd say probably 3 weeks out from the regular season. Well, that's today, folks. That is today, August 20th. As we record this podcast, he's not signed. So hopefully he gets signed soon. I really don't know what's holding the deal up. I don't know if it's him or Chris Jones first type thing, waiting to see who blinks. Just get the deal done. Parag, Jed, Kyle, John, Adam, whoever the hell is holding it up, get it done. Mike, you touched on the 49ers secondary looking improved. I want to talk about one play specifically, and then we'll get back to quarterbacks, promise. Jair Brown, the effort before the first half was over, chasing down Virgil, I think was the wide receiver's name. Unfortunately, he got hurt on the play, saving the 49ers 7 points going into halftime. I mean, it was like the Cowboys game all over again from 2 years ago where they're rushing to snap the ball and they run out of time. That was an amazing effort play. And Brown, in my opinion, he didn't look that great week one. Preseason kind of got, burned. But the effort is what I love to see from these rookies. I don't know if any of you guys wanted to speak on that, but when you brought up the secondary, that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's that Jersey guy right there, man. You guys know I go to bat for my Jersey people, man. And I was open about my criticisms and my concerns about him with speed. I specifically said on our first week preview show, I thought he was going to be a liability back there. And wow, for him to have that, I thought that was a terrible pursuit angle. And to be able to make that tackle, and you could see that he had to kind of gather himself. That kid is a sure tackler. There's no reason why that receiver shouldn't have been able to shake him off. But once he got his hands on him, man, it was like a glue trap. You're not getting him off without oil, water, and a spatula. That was incredible. So I really liked what he saw there. Great hustle by those guys. And like I said, Wilkes, you can see his imprint on the secondary. on the secondary. And what I'm hearing a lot of criticisms about as well is the exact opposite in my head. I love how they're moving guys around. Oh, you thought this guy was going to be a slot? We're going to put him outside. He looks good outside. Let's take this guy that's normally outside. Let's put him in the slot and see what he does. Wow, he looks great in there also. We've got some versatility. No longer are we going to be crippled by one of these guys going down. I like that. This team they're starting to do on the defensive side of the ball what Kyle's been doing on the offensive side of the ball, positionless football. You're a running back, or you can go out there and play wide receiver. You're a wide receiver, you can come in here and play running back. I can play with all three of my quarterbacks if I have to, if they're healthy. Like, this is what we're going to start to see on the defensive side of the ball, and that is what complementary football is all about. So I'm excited about it.
I love it. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I thought he was very physical. I think that he attacks the ball well. I'd like to see him do a little bit better in coverage. I think there are still some lapses, and maybe that's to be expected, as a rookie and as you're getting used to this top tier defensive unit. But the promise is there. And I think that unlike a lot of Shanahan rookies, he's going to be able to contribute from day one. He's not going to start. Obviously, Tashawn Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga are going to shore up the safety roles, but in spot duty, in nickel coverage, when somebody needs a break or whatever, he definitely has an opportunity to make the most of his reps. And I think that hustle will get you very far. It's something that, I preach for, when you're trying to teach somebody something. Dude, you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't work hard at it, like, it doesn't matter if you're smart. Like, what do they say? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I think that's, Jair Brown has talent, and he looks like he works hard, and he looks like he's one of those guys that are made up of the type of fiber that this team is looking for. A guy that's going to put everything into it, that's going to work really hard, effort, play in, play out. And he might be out of position. He might not always do the best that what they need them to do, whether he's out of position or still learning or whatever. But at the very least, that this dude's going to work his ass off and try not to make the same mistake twice. And that's really all you can look for out of a rookie is that positive attitude, that willingness to do anything. And so those guys are the guys that you want to give a little bit of leeway to as they're learning the position as a pro.
I love it. I agree. With both of you guys said. And I'm excited to see what he can do, especially under a coach like Steve Wilkes, who they were saying in the broadcast, has his PhD in secondary play. That was a funny way to put it. But let's get into, we'll wrap up quarterbacks with Trey Lance's performances. That was clearly the biggest topic of the night. I was, wasn't at the game, but listening on TV, you could just hear the crowd erupt. It was probably the loudest cheers of the night when Trey Lance went in. He comes in, I think he had a couple of stalled drives or, the interception that Matt referenced earlier. And then he kind of got into a rhythm and started to get comfortable. And man, he was throwing some darts, some accurate passes, second level throws, reading the defenses. I was impressed by what we saw from Trey Lance. Mike, I'm going to toss it to you if you're good. What did you take away from Trey Lance's performance last night?
Trey Lance's performance was a microcosm of what we need to see from him. The kid just needs the opportunity to play and develop. If you want him to be good, he needs time. He needs reps. It started a little shaky. And even when I say shaky, he always looked comfortable to me. I did not see nervous Trey Lance. He threw the interception, and he seemed so unbothered by it on the sideline. And then they were like, oh, they're going to challenge it because they don't know. Then he grabs his helmet. He goes back onto the field, but then he comes back. But I was expecting to see him be upset. I don't know if you guys remember, Nick Mullins used to get furious with himself. You could see the anger, his little tiny ass lips. He's doing like this. I just sucked the lemon face. You know what I mean? I didn't expect all of that from Trey Lance, but I expected to see some sort of mental, physical reaction to not, getting that ball over those defensive linemen, right? And there was nothing. It was it's cool. It's cool. I think he knew he had the rest of the game to get it right, and he did just that. He went out and did just that. I was very, very surprised with Trey Lance. I loved what he did out there, and the longer he played, the better he got. I don't think there's an error in saying that at all. I don't think anybody would be wrong for saying that. I think that the kid looked like someone who, like I started, he just needs more time. He's got four games in the NFL. That's it. That's it. So, I mean, the story is out there. I do think that he did enough to show that he should be QB2 as of right now. He has played he had four drives, 3 of which were scores. 2 of those scores could have been touchdowns if not for Kyle kind of being a little more conservative, for a lack of better terms. Kyle being a little conservative, you know what I mean? But I liked what I saw from him. I really, really did. So kudos to him.
Matt, did you have any want to share your thoughts on his performance?
No, I thought that he played really well as well, the more that he went along, particularly those last 2 drives. And I think that it was a nice contrast from game 1. Whereas game 1, it looked like he was struggling to pull the trigger on a lot of things. Here, I thought that he made a lot of good second-level throws. I thought the throw to Cameron Latu for the touchdown was a really nice throw. He had a couple of really on-target, tight window throws that he just didn't seem like he wanted to pull the trigger on last week. So, again, I agree with Mike that this is a microcosm of what we see from Trey Lance. Dude just needs reps. And unfortunately, as long as Brock Purdy comes out and looks the way that he does with the first team, Trey Lance is not going to get those reps. Unfortunately, that's what it's looking like. But I do think that it would behoove the 49ers that if they are going to keep Trey Lance as the number 2 guy, that, you keep him on deck and you keep him getting reps in practice, because if something, heaven forbid, happens to Brock Purdy, I feel comfortable with Trey Lance as the backup. I talked last week about, well, does Sam Darnold have the higher floor? But this game kind of shows me that Trey Lance is the QB2. Yeah. I think the difference between the floor of Trey Lance and Sam Darnold is closer than the difference between Trey Lance's ceiling and Sam Darnold's ceiling. I think that Trey Lance has a much higher to fly potential-wise than Sam Darnold does. And I don't think that at his worst, Trey Lance is a far worse quarterback than Sam Darnold. I think you have to roll with Trey Lance. This week proves it. Throws the interception, hearing all the noise, hearing that, oh, Kyle Shanahan's trying to sabotage you from, whack-ass reporters, hearing that, oh, nobody's coming out to defend you from whack-ass reporters, and then coming out and doing what he did after the interception, 2 straight scoring drives with time running down on the clock, being able to get them in a position to win the game. I think that those are all character and confidence-building things, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does next week in the preseason for the 49ers last. I think that he did a great job by making a huge step in solidifying that QB2 role for himself at the very least.
I was really, really impressed what we saw from him. He had a slow start, had a bad start, right? The interception. And I wasn't sure if he was going to let it kind of get to him. In my opinion, seeing him last week, I saw a kid that, 1, his confidence appeared shot, and 2, was terrified to make a mistake. It was almost like, if I make one mistake, my chance is gone. I have to be perfect. I have to be on and it seemed like last night he went out, and after he got into rhythm, a couple of drives in, he just didn't think. Like, he just let it rip. He just followed his instincts, let it rip. And man, was he accurate. Like, it was so impressive to see how accurate he can be when he's on. And I wanted to play you guys a video from last week and a video from this week. These are post-game videos. The first is credit to Grant Cohn. He was the one who interviewed him. But just check language, what he says. I'm going to play this real quick. This is him after the Raiders loss.
Season, you said all you wanted was a chance to compete. Given how the training camp and preseason has unfolded, is this sort of what you had in mind?
Just taking advantage of every opportunity I get, one day at a time. Like I said earlier, in training camp, just trying to stay present, focused, one day at a time, and trust that whatever's meant to happen will happen.
In the offseason,
Tough. Okay, and then check this out from 95.7 The Game.
We'll get there, y'all.
I think.
Did you not hear it?
Did we lose Zach?
Oh, can you hear me? Am I
Yeah,
there you
I can
are.
hear Zach.
Oh, okay. Here.
Well, we're just the share screen is not showing what you want us to see.
Oh, here. Let me try again.
Sure. There it is.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I feel like every time I step on the field, I learn so much. I get so much better from every rep, whether it's practice, games, or whatever. Just seeing as many pictures as I can and continue to get as many reps as I can with these guys.
What a novel concept. The more you play, the more you improve. Just like you guys see the difference in body language alone, right? Like
Absolutely.
his head,
He's
no.
smiling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you watch that
I will
press conference-
say that he might not want to be smiling if he's talking to Grant Cohn, because I don't think anybody on the team smiles talking to Grant Cohn, except for George Kittle, who's smiling ironically through his teeth, trying not to bust his ass. But
I disagree. I think Grant Cohn has had an agenda all off season. Not that Trey Lance should be the starter, that it should be an open competition between Lance and Purdy, especially because Purdy was coming back injured. I think that's what his issue was. Now, that being said, he was smiles and good energy and enthusiasm up until Grant asked that question last week. I thought about doing a whole show on it, but I was like, nah, people expect this of me. I'm going to leave it alone. It's low-hanging fruit. Like, right? I didn't do the full breakdown like I wanted to, but you could see that I
saw it too.
Defeated with the question that Grant was asking. This is not what I expected. He couldn't say no because, it is what it is. They I control what I can control, and it is what it is, and I'm one play at a time. That's all I can do. Yeah. He's right in that sentiment, right? He's absolutely correct. But this week the energy was completely different. The audio was hard to hear, so here's a shameless plug, guys. Whatever your podcast apps are on your phone, iTunes, whatever it is, if you go to Nothing But Niners, we have the presser from the locker room actually loaded up the audio from all the players that were interviewed post game in the locker room, so you guys can go there and check it out.
Hey, there you go. Also, can I address something real quick? I see people saying, yeah, Trey Lance did it, but he did it with the third and fourth stringers against the third and fourth stringers. He did it also with third and fourth stringers, like third and fourth string offensive line, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. Like the argument goes both ways, right? Like, yes, he did it against maybe not as talented players, but also with not as talented players. We have yet to see him with Christian McCaffrey. We barely saw him with George Kittle. If we were to see him last night with Debo, Ayuk, CMC, and look, this argument's been made a million times. I'm just saying you can't really discount it because he played against backups when he was playing with backups. It's like it kind of evens itself out. And also, what we're evaluating is his accuracy. What we're evaluating is his decision making. What we're evaluating is his arm. That doesn't really change. Maybe the window's a little tighter. Maybe things go quicker, but we're still seeing if he made the right decision or not. So in my opinion, it's not really an argument.
And not only that, where was that excuse last week when the other quarterback sucked at the end of the game? Where was that argument the week before when you've had 2 practices against this team that you're going against their fourth stringers? You should know their tendencies a little bit better than just the team that you're randomly playing against, right? And so it always depends on how you want to – the excuses have been pre-installed since the beginning of preseason football. If you don't like the player, you can say, yeah, well, he did it against a bunch of nobodies. If you like the guy, you're going to gas him up and say, that's what we expect to see from someone who should be ahead of everybody else on the field as far as NFL development and football IQ. So it depends on what part of the side you want to fall on. But for those saying, oh, well, he only did it against fourth stringers, it's clear how you think about Trey Lance. You're putting yourself out there without having to say it. I'm just letting you guys know we can see you. So just be mindful of what you're saying. All right. Just be mindful of what you're saying.
No, listen, I feel you. And that's the pushback that I have. And there's people in the chat right now that are doing it too. There is like a race component to this shit that just drives me up a wall. And I feel like that's where Grant really lost me. When somebody was like, oh, your boy Trey Lance did this. And he was like, your boy is like hella racist. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's such like a commonly used term. Like
your boy is very different than boy. I actually argued with Nick on the show live because he called me boy. I never told him that it bothered me, but he did it, and I was like, "Hey, Nick, don't do that." Like I said it right, because that is a huge pet peeve of him. Like I literally hate that.
No, and I realize there's a huge difference between saying boy and like, "Hey, come get your boy." Right? Like there's a huge difference in connotation. And where I will push back against Grant saying like, oh, it should be an open competition, when in the face of this, he does that. And then he goes, oh, well, Sam Darnold got a touchdown drive engineered for him. And Brock Purdy only threw screen passes. So you can say that your argument is this, right? Or you could be like the dude in the chat right now who's like, only the black people hyped up Trey and only the white people dapped up Darnold. That's bullshit. Okay. I don't play that fucking game. Are there people that are like that in the fan base? For sure. But do you think there's a ton of people like that on the team? I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. So you need to keep that shit to yourself. But the fact of the matter is, when you got people that no matter what happens are unwilling to budge from their stance, then it's not about the competition. It's about the horse that you have in the race. That's
right.
What you want.
And that's what I was saying. I was not making it a race thing. I don't want to be clear.
No, I know you're not.
Your cards,
I know when you're saying that Grant is arguing that it should be an open competition, and then he sees a game where Purdy comes out, looks in command of the offense, and then downplays that, and Darnold has a nice touchdown drive, and he downplays that, and then does everything that he can to prop up the guy that he wants to be there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Mind you, the same Grant Cohn that came out last year and was like, Purdy is the real deal, and then criticized Kyle Shanahan this year for saying Purdy is the real deal. That shit doesn't mesh. Okay.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you.
You're selling wolf tickets. Okay. Don't come and fucking tell me that you want it to be an open competition, and then you're going to talk about that. Okay. It's bullshit. You want Trey Lance to start. Just say that, and let's move on from the silly shit. It's the same thing that I told Ted. Listen, dude, you can hype up your dude and not tear down the other guy. And at the very least, at least Ted would acknowledge that Brock Purdy made nice plays yesterday. But Grant Cohn will not do that. Didn't touch that second level throw to Juwan Jennings because he knows what that will entail if he says, yeah, that was a nice throw. Ain't gonna do it because he's all in on the I hate Kyle. Kyle doesn't know QB, so I'm gonna root for the QB that I know is not gonna play.
This is not in defense of Grant because I'm not defending this. He's grown. He doesn't need me to do that. I have never heard him say that there's a quarterback worthy of being a starter on this team all offseason. Everything he said is the Niners have 3 good backup quarterbacks.
I get you, but it's that there is an incongruity with him saying that overall statement and then being like, imagine if Trey had this, imagine if Kyle called this for Trey. Imagine what you're telling me is you want Trey to be the starter and you think Trey can be the starter. And you can say that he is not, but it is what it is, man. And James Wilson, Grant living rent free in y'all head. Listen, dude, Grant Cohn is the largest YouTube 49ers content creator that we got. So when he steps out of pocket, we got to talk about it because that's just how it is. Because like it or not, he is like, the torchbearer for a lot of the community. He has spawned off a bunch of these guys that are on Twitter right now. He has been on our show. He's been on Mike's show. He's been on all this stuff. We've met him in person. When you carry the torch and you're credentialed by the team, you need to be held to a higher standard. It's not about living rent free. It's calling bullshit when you see it. And that's all it is. Sure. So it is what it is, James Wilson. But, black players only dap up black people and then white players only dap up white people, right? That's your opinion. So,
All right.
Listen, I'm going to go at that shit because that shit drives me up a wall because if everything is racist, then nothing is racist. You can't just drop that shit in a bucket and not explain yourself or back it up. We had a guy on our last show do the exact same thing. I asked him to explain me how, and that motherfucker didn't say another word. So you either need to back up your actions or you need to stop. So I'm not putting up with that shit.
So
I like it.
Let's get this comment from Scott. Baby. This game was low-key a disaster. O-line giving up sacks. D-line couldn't stop middle runs. Special teams failure in every department. 3 turnovers, blown coverage by Ambry. Penalties everywhere. My main takeaway from this, special teams was atrocious. Missed extra point, letting these long kickoff returns come back. My internet might cut out. I'm getting a signal here, so bear with me. And Deshaun Jameson, who I was championing last week after looking really good in the return game, fumbles this week. And on the flip side, Ronnie Bell, who I was saying didn't look as comfortable, had a fantastic return. Aside from that, though, are you guys concerned about special teams?
I'm very concerned. Well, don't forget about Danny Gray, spraining his SC joint.
That as well.
And Jake Moody missing another kick, this time a PAT, and Mitch Wisnowski being absolutely terrible. Oh, dude, this is year 5 of Wish, and I'm just like, man, there's an occasional coffin corner where you're like, damn, that was a good kick. But a lot of times it's like, wait, you punted from the 38 and it only went to the 20. What happened, man? What's going on right now? It's terrible.
The worst part of that is that we can't see it. So I don't know if you remember, one of his kicks was actually like fielded, and you heard Tim Ryan say it was a banana ball or a helicopter ball. He was saying it was rotating this way. If we don't hear that, like it's possible he was working on different types of kicks in preseason, but we're not gonna. All we see is the yardage, and it sounds terrible. You know what I'm saying? So it's just funny. I don't know. It's funny, man.
What's up, Breezy?
No, I totally get it.
What up, Wayne?
Yeah, welcome, Wayne. Appreciate having you here for sure. No, I get it. I get, you get the banana kick and you get you want to try it off different angles on your foot or whatever, but let's not pretend like this dude is, amongst the best putters in NFL history. He's not. I just like to see more. At this point, stop trying with the finesse and be more meat and potatoes, because that's what the 49ers need out of you. Save all the bullshit for practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Steph Curry, does all his out of bounds shit like before the games. He doesn't do that in preseason games. He doesn't do whatever. Works within the structure, does his job. Like, same thing for Wish. Just, dude, do your job, man. Get out there,
that, Matt.
Punt the ball as the game would dictate you punt the ball.
Right.
Practice. This is something I heard from all of my coaches in every sport that I ever played. Approach practice like you would the games, right? And this is a preseason game. This is a practice game. Why are you going out there and dicking around with banana balls? Like, who gives a shit?
But what I'm just saying, what if that's what they told him to do? Dicking around with banana balls is a funny sentence.
Listen, but Tim Ryan also says stupid shit too. So there's that as well.
Yeah. So Matt, you saying that reminds me of last week, or I guess it was this week. Tim Ryan and Papa go, Jake Moody's handling kickoffs. Last week, they were telling him to angle it within the 5 yards on the corner. This week, they're saying, just get it there, Jake. Like, enough of the finesse shit, specific shit. Just kick the damn ball. See if you can get it there. Clearly, we put too much in your mind last week. And I don't know, maybe that's what's going on with Mitch, is they're asking him to do too much. Just punt the damn ball, dude. Your Aussie, whatever, player, Quidditch, for all I know. They're playing Quidditch down there, and they got him for that. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but I just hope it gets better. Let's get into stocks rising, stocks declining, and then we'll start to wrap up the show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you haven't hit like and subscribe already, please do over 49ers stuff. Tuning on Nothing But Niners, hit like and subscribe here. You're probably already subscribed. Hit it just in case you're not. You don't want to miss any content from any of us. We got a ton dropping this season. All right, I'm going to start. Stocks going up, rising. I'm going to take the easy one. I'm sorry, guys. Ronnie Bell, this kid is balling. What did he finish the game with? 7 receptions for 114 yards, on 9 targets. Unfortunately, one of them was the drop or the tipped pass that ended up being intercepted, second week in a row. But looking good on special teams, like putting the effort in on special teams. He's a dog yards after the catch. He had one of the nastiest stiff arms I've seen this preseason. Ronnie Bell stock is going up, up, up. Mike, I'm gonna toss it to you. Whose stock is rising?
I'm gonna say stock rising for. I want to make this interesting. Let's do. Let's go stock up for Jake Moody. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was concerned with him. We easily could have. I think we could have easily scored a touchdown. I think Kyle wanted and was hoping to get him in that situation. In fact, Kyle did confirm at the podium afterwards. He said, I was actually hoping it was a little bit longer, but we got the long run from TDP, I think it was. No, Nick. Yeah, it was TDP.
Yeah, because McNichols
we got the long
injury.
run. It was a long run from TDP, and he was smart enough to go down inbound so we could, burn the rest of their timeouts and everything. And that was a pressure situation for Trey Lance. That was a pressure situation for the high drafted kicker. That was a pressure situation for everybody. So I really, really like that one. It's the young man's opportunity to build some confidence. And on that, I saw right after the kick, he was disappointed with himself. We saw it kind of barely eked in on the right.
Yeah, he pushed it a little bit. Yeah.
And so he got a little bit upset. He was a little down on himself, but then what I loved about it was how the whole bench just cleared and started like slapping the helmets and slapping ass, and then you could see his demeanor changing. Hey, it's okay to be disappointed in what you did for yourself, but you did something positive for the team, and that's what we're here for. So I think that right there is going to carry so much into the future for this young man. I absolutely love that. So I'm going to say stock up for the 3rd round pick, kicker, and Jake Moody.
I love it. I love it. Matt, who stock's rising?
I'm gonna go with Cameron Latu. Dude, there was a lot of listen. Dude was a 3rd-round pick coming out of Alabama. There was a lot of talk after last week's game where he had the fumble, didn't look particularly impressive, where people were like, man, are they going to cut bait on this guy? Like, word on the street is he needs to have like a really good game to avoid potentially being cut by the team. He's running out of runway in terms of making an impression. And dude had 3 catches, 46 yards, and that sweet touchdown from Trey Lance. I think that he did a good job of putting himself back in the conversation, excuse me, and really working himself into a position where he can make this team. It's a work in progress for sure, but from week 1 to week 2, he looked like a much more confident, much more capable player, and all you want is to build upon the moments, build on each week, get a little better each week. I thought he did a good job. He was the 49ers leading receiver after Ronnie Bell. I thought he acquitted himself very well. And it's looking up for Cameron Latu going forward for sure. He's in a battle with Braden Willis, and Willis had a catch for 9 yards, started above him on the depth chart. Actually, Braden Willis did, but Cameron Latu brought himself on a lot late in the game. 15.3 yards per reception is nothing to sneeze at. That's for sure.
For sure. That was, yeah, I was really impressed by him too, because people were saying, I said it too. The 49ers used a decade's worth of 3rd-round picks on Fred Warner, and they were willing to sacrifice the rest of them. And I was jokingly throwing Latu in there, but he looked really good last night. I don't think he had a drop, which is most important. This comment, John Bull cracks me up. Moody needs to be in the middle of Beyonce concerts practicing his kicks in Levi Stadium, to be honest. Excuse me, Beyonce, this is kind of more important. His livelihood depends on it. So I don't disagree with that. All right. I'm going to go ahead, Mike. You got something to say?
No. I like Matt's pick. If no one mentioned him, I was definitely going to bring him up. I like that a lot. I was hoping that we could stash this kid, but if he has another game like that, I don't think so.
Yeah. Do you guys want to do one more stock rising or go into stock declining?
I mean, I'll take the obvious one. I think stock rising for Trey Lance and QB2. I think everyone was very, very happy with what he did. Again, 4 drives, 3 of which were scores. Could have been more points if not for missed extra points and Kyle deciding to, do a situational thing. And by the way, 143 yards in 1 quarter of football. I mean, obviously you got to credit the defense for getting the stops, but he flipped the switch. That 4th quarter, that 1 drive in the 4th quarter, he kind of worked the kinks out, and he came back on fire in that 4th quarter. I mean, clutch everywhere you go. I mean, it was really fun to see. I think they converted a 3rd and 20 on one of those last 2 drives. It was really, really good to see them coming. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was a 2nd and 20, and then I think they converted the 3rd down afterwards, I believe. But either way, it was really, really big to see Trey out there doing that. So stock up for him in the QB2 competition. Let me be clear about what I'm saying.
Yeah. Just if you extrapolate his numbers, he's on pace for like a 550-yard game or something like that. Like insane numbers for Trey Lance. Matt, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, no, listen, I touched on it briefly earlier just because I was heartened by what I saw, but I'm going to go stock up Deebo Samuel. He had a really down year last year. He only got a couple of touches in today's game, but damn, did he make the most of that opportunity. He looked slimmer. He looked more fit. Getting the ball in the backfield off of screens is something that he's going to be able to do that will be kind of unique to him. You don't have to use him as wide back. Christian McCaffrey takes up those carries or whatever. But if you can get Deebo Samuel involved in the quick passing / screen game to the outside and get him in space, he showed yesterday what he can do with those opportunities. I think that Deebo Samuel's going to have a bounce back year. Maybe not to the heights that his 2021 season was, but certainly better than what last year was. And that combo between Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel actually makes me worry about the production from George Kittle, because I think he becomes redundant at that point, particularly as he ages. And with a quarterback that has shown that he can hit those second-level throws in Brock Purdy, who looks to the wide receivers, I think that Deebo Samuel is going to be a nice complementary, and I know people are going to flame me for this, but a nice complementary wide receiver 2. I think Brandon Ayuk is clearly wide receiver 1, particularly with the addition of Christian McCaffrey taking up a lot of the utility plays that were previously going to Deebo. But I thought Deebo looked really, really good yesterday in the limited action that he got, and I'm very excited to see more from him going forward.
Yeah, I was impressed, and I know we talked about it at the time where Debo shared his thoughts on last year and how he straight up admitted he let the contract dispute get in the way. He wasn't in shape. I appreciate that. I appreciate him owning it. All right, stocks. My last stock rising. Both rookie linebackers, Jalen Graham, D. Winters, looked really good. The kids could fly around. I think it was Graham that had a really big hit, causing a fumble. The 49ers recovered. I think it was fourth down anyway, but still really good. And I would not be surprised, I hate to say it, to see them move one of these linebackers because they just seem to be able to find these linebackers in the mid to later rounds that other teams can't. We saw it a couple years ago with Jonas Griffith. He looked really, really good in preseason. They sent him to Denver. Maybe we see another rookie linebacker, maybe Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. They feel comfortable moving off of. He's been on the team for, it seems like, 4 or 5 years now. So we'll see which one gets moved, but I would not be surprised if any of them get moved. All right. I mean, other than Greenlaw and Warner, of course. Stocks declining. Again,
Yes.
I'm going to cheat and get really easy. Isaiah Oliver. Whew. This guy was signed from Atlanta, started games in Atlanta last season. I believe, if I remember the reporting correctly, defense coordinator Steve Wilkes said, that's my guy. I want him. 49ers signed him. I thought he was penciled in as a starter for sure, has a horrible first preseason game. And then afterwards, Kyle Shanahan and Wilkes both basically said, look, this guy's not guaranteed a roster spot. He's going to have to earn it just like everybody else, which I thought was pretty eye-opening, right? He did not look that much better last night. There was a screen pass that Stidham did not complete, but boy, is Oliver lucky that pass was not completed because he was in a horrible position. That screen pass maybe goes for a touchdown. I don't know. I know what ifs don't mean anything, but still just he was not in position to make the play. And it's what we see from Isaiah Oliver consistently. Unfortunately, I was rooting for him. Stock down for the second week in a row, Isaiah Oliver. Matt, I'm going to toss it to you.
And listen, Isaiah Oliver can be cut and the 49ers would save $240,000. So, it wouldn't be a dead cap hit. They can move off him pretty easily. I agree with that. My stock down is Jordan Mason. I don't particularly like how he's been running the ball. 8 carries, 24 yards is pathetic. I don't like the way I honestly, TDP misblocked the side, looks like the better back. TDP was actually higher on the depth chart for that game and was playing with the starters. And I think that makes it clear that year number 2 for Ty Davis-Price is looking up in comparison to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason better be careful. I mean, Jeremy McNichols looked better in spots than he did, particularly with the ability for Jeremy McNichols to run to catch passes. We already know that the 49ers are looking for insurance behind Christian McCaffrey and an oft-injured Elijah Mitchell. And it's looking more and more that it's going to be TDP rather than Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is doing himself no favors. I have not been impressed one iota. And everybody's darling last year is kind of coming up snake eyes this year. It just doesn't look good to me.
Damn. All right. I was not expecting that one, actually, but hey, I could see it, unfortunately. Mike, who do you got?
It's so weird, man. I like Mason, man. That one kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. I like Mason, man. It's all good.
Hey, I'll tell you what. You point me to the good play that Mason made yesterday, and I'll take it back. But I don't think you can do that.
I get it. So that's why I said it just hurt my feelings. I didn't try to defend him at all. I'm going to go with Deshaun Jamison, the return kid. I don't know if that maybe the clippings got to his head. These young kids are really tapped in on social media. There was a lot of positive talk about him, and I do like that. I think he could actually contribute in the secondary as well. Let me be very clear. But I think there was a big step back in the return game. The muff punt and all that. I just don't know. I don't know how he's going to work out. So I'm going to say stock down there. It was just not as good of a day as it was the week before for him. So,
okay. Unfortunately, because I was, again, like I said, I was championing Deshaun Jamison Friday night on the preview show. Did not do that good, but Papa calls him sweet feet. He's got really good footwork. He's quick. He looked explosive when he was returning kicks. So I'm not writing him off just yet, but I agree with you.
You didn't name him as stock down, right?
I did not. No, I did not.
Okay.
But I agree with you.
If Greg Papa says someone's name is Sweet Feet, I want that motherfucker cut immediately.
Anytime I hear Papa, I just think of his dumbass against the Packers when Clinton Dix had that interception.
Oh,
Do you guys remember that clip?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Remind
me. He did the Woody Woodpecker laugh.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It was
terrible.
Horrible.
No.
Also, him screaming Trey area is like ingrained in my soul. Yeah. All right.
He's like that guy that wants to be cool and fit in with the group, but he's like 15 years too old, and you're just like, "Hey, settle down, Grandpa. You gotta like back that shit up."
That clip of Steve Buscemi. How do you do, fellow kids? You know, like that's exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. My last stock down. I don't know who to put it between, but Zakel and again another guy I was championing on Friday night, Il Manning. I thought he was going to come out and have a really good showing. Offensive line number, I believe he's number 60. Had a handful of holding penalties, or a couple at least. I know between Zakel's, Feliciano, and Manning. I guess I should just say fuck reserve offensive linemen because none of them really looked that great. They had a lot of the quarterbacks scrambling for their lives. So reserve O-line was not good. So hopefully that can step up because the 49ers throughout the years, just historically, need to plug and place these guys due to injuries. On the flip side, I believe I saw David Lombardi tweet out that was it McKivitz didn't allow a single pressure on the entire game. So shout out to Colton McKivitz.
That's all right.
Yeah. Hey, let me have that win, Mike. Let me have that little win. Who wants anyone else? Or did we already do 2 for everyone?
No, I got one more.
Okay.
I'm gonna go stock down Danny Gray. Gets hurt on the opening kickoff, doesn't get to play, doesn't get to show off what he can do, and yet again you let a rookie. You know, Danny Gray didn't do anything in his rookie year. Ended up in Shanahan's doghouse, didn't play. Now you got a dude in Ronnie Bell who, you know, a couple of ball security issues aside, is balling out. Looks comfortable as a returner in the second game. Looked better in the second game than the first game. Danny Gray was already, to me, fringe on this roster, and he's by getting injured and not playing, he's allowing dudes to catch up and take spots and reps that should have been his to show in year 2 that he could have done something. Danny Gray will quickly play himself off of this team if he is not careful. So he needs to be able to come back from the injury and, you know, show something. If he doesn't get to do it in the, you know, in the third preseason game, if that shoulder injury is going to keep him out, I would expect him to at least go on the PUP, probably on IR. They'll probably stash him on IR for the year to try to hold on to him. But that's never a good thing when the team feels like, I don't want to let you get to the practice squad, so we're not going to do that, but we can't keep you on the 53. We're just going to give you that IR designation. And they've done it to a bunch of players in the past. Danny Gray better be careful because he's not going to be able to come back from this if he allows Ronnie Bell and the like to continue to ball out while he's doing nothing on the sideline. You know, it's NFL is what have you done for me lately? And Danny Gray hasn't done shit since he's gotten into the league.
Wow. I thought Danny Gray had a stock up night, believe it or not.
He got hurt on the opening kickoff and didn't play anymore.
And that's why I thought it was stock up. The fact that he was back there, it was a good return. I thought that went well for him. We didn't see him play poorly, so it was like, hey, hide this guy. You know what I'm saying?
I will say that the injury though, it's the reason why they drafted Trey Lance, because Jimmy got hurt. Like Kyle, listen, then coaches don't got time. Best ability is availability. We've all known that, right? They replace guys based on it's the same thing. Elijah Mitchell, really talented, but guess what? You can't count on him because he's been hurt every single. He had two separate MCL injuries last year, one in each knee. It's like, dude, like, come on, man. At some point or another, that you're gonna get moved on from. That's just how it is.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So Danny Gray's got to be careful because you can have a nice opening kickoff, but by the end of the game, does anybody even remember that he had a nice opening kickoff, or was it? Oh, Ronnie Bell caught 7 passes for 114 yards and looked comfortable returning kicks.
Right.
Mike, you got one last stock declining?
I mean, we hit all of the big ones already. Isaiah Oliver was
I got one. Really, really I got one if you need.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sam Darnold's stock declined, in my opinion, last night. He maybe had if you're going plus or negative, had an average 0 night. But other than a couple of throws that were impressive, I think he got passed up by Trey Lance. And Look, I asked you guys earlier what if you guys took anything, or maybe I only asked Matt, out of him playing longer than Kyle had originally said. In my opinion, I think Kyle is like, I think Trey Lance can be better than Sam Darnold, but I just need to fucking be sure because my career might depend on it. Not my career, maybe this year might depend on it with the 49ers with my luck at injury at the quarterback position. So let me make sure. And he gave Sam Darnold just the extra, 4 or 5 series that he really is seeing what he thinks he's seeing. And then Trey came in, looked as confident as ever, as comfortable as ever. And maybe that did solidify what Kyle thought going into the game. But I think Sam Darnold went down. He's got a really talented arm. I'm not taking that away from him. He hasn't been able to put it all together. Maybe we would see something else if he played with all the starters, but that can go for any 3 of these quarterbacks. So I think Sam Darnold stock down. Maybe not much, but it went down a little bit.
I thought that was an obvious choice there. I told you guys I thought Trey Lance went stock up for the quarterback 2 spot, right? So I felt like, it was pretty obvious. And you're right, the extra rep going into the third quarter, it was pretty telling. Kyle he's like trying to make sure this kid got something going. You know what I mean? Let me see where it is and what he can do. And so I think that's a bad sign, right? Here. Remember how I said that it was a really good opportunity for the kicker to go out, right? In that situation, instead of us punching it in. I think Kyle's very confident in Gonzalez already. I don't need to see him. He's done it at the pro level. He was over 85% the last time he was healthy. I don't need to run him out here in a pressure situation. He'll nail that 10 times out of 10. It was a good scenario for the young man to do it, and I think that didn't count against Gonzalez. People are like, oh, well, how do we know what Gonzalez is? They know what Gonzalez is already.
Right.
I don't need to see him, right? So with the extra reps for Sam Darnold, that's the opposite effect of the Zane Gonzalez thing. It's like we need to see this guy do something in the system. I'm sorry. Like if he didn't get that scoring drive, he would have had what? He would have had 9. I think it's 9 drives with only 1 score. Or that was his 1 score. He didn't score the last time. So you know what I mean? Like it would have been 0 for 9. That's not good. That's not good. I got to see you do something. So I think they did need to see it. Sometimes getting the reps is not necessarily a good thing. Like, oh, we trust this guy more. No, we need to evaluate more. We need to see more coming down the line. So I like that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. Scott Broyle says Sam down 1 score in 6 drives versus backups. Again, somebody that started 55 games in the NFL. You'd think he'd look a little more. I understand it's a new system, but
that's the big thing, though. Yeah, Sam Darnold is a 6-year pro, whereas Trey Lance. And sorry if I'm off kilter, guys. My dog's kind of scared of the hurricane. So, yeah. Sam Darnold is a 6-year pro. Trey Lance has 5 career starts. You pull more out of what Trey Lance can do, and you get more hope out of what Trey Lance can do, and kind of forgive some of the mistakes. But when you see Darnold struggling against second-team players, it really is kind of eye-opening. You're like, damn, man, this is a guy that has, double-digit starts. Like he's got like 55 starts or something like that, and he's still struggling at times against, backups. It's very eye-opening, and it lets you know what the 49ers have, or in this case, don't have with Sam Darnold. And it's why I kind of changed my stance from the previous show, whereas last week Darnold looked good against the threes. He really struggled this week, and so, it makes me wonder, like, man, is the floor for Sam Darnold that much higher than the floor for Trey Lance? And if it's not, I feel like the ceiling for Trey Lance is way higher. So you got to go with that guy over what Sam Darnold would give you. I do agree. Stock down for Sam Darnold. I think that Trey Lance definitely did a lot to kind of really put a grip on that QB2 spot, and he can really take a stranglehold with another good performance this coming week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to start wrapping up here. Is there any final thoughts you guys have on this game before we get into a chat pack question? Anything you guys want to talk about that we didn't talk about? Any thoughts, anything at all?
I thought first team offense came out and was really efficient. I thought they did a good job driving down the field, and it was a missed block that kind of stalled you in the end zone. That typically tends to happen as the field shortens up. The defense is able to make more plays. But just based off of that one drive, it was very heartening. Deebo Samuel got 2 catches. Jawan Jennings got a second-level throw. Purdy hit Ayuk on a very, very nice and well-timed slant play for a first down. just overall, I thought that the offense did a great job, first team offense, of moving the ball down the field and getting in a position to score, whether it was touchdown or field goal. And it kind of continues the trend where Brock Purdy starts games and the 49ers score like 35 points a game. It bodes well. I liked what I saw from Purdy. He looked like he was willing to rip it. He didn't look like he had diminished arm strength from last season, which was like the big concern, particularly, like I said, again, on both the slant and the second level throw. Those balls had zip on it that we've seen from Purdy. He's not the strongest arm dude in the group, but he's going to get it done when you need it in a pinch. I thought he looked good. And there was a spot where I actually thought Purdy was wearing like this bulky like brace on his arm. But then I went back and looked at it again, and it looks like he's been working so hard on getting his throwing arm back into shape that he's kind of like a baseball pitcher where the one arm is just more muscular than the other arm.
It's like Quagmire.
Yeah, Quagmire. Exactly. He's got Quagmire arm right now. But I thought, it was really nice to see that. And it was nice to see Javon Hargrave get his first reps as a 49er. Not exactly a stat stuffing day, mind you, but it's good to get him out there and just, get him familiar with game situations. He had a tackle, but once Bosa's back in camp, once you pair him next to Armstead and you see Drake Jackson is supposed to return. Yep, that's the one. That was Brock Purdy's arm right there. Once you get Drake Jackson back out there, who's supposed to return to practice this week along with George Kittle and Dre Greenlaw, now everything's starting to come together. You get the dress rehearsal next week, and then you get 2 weeks off before the season opener. Things are starting to come together for the 49ers. It was a much better showing effort-wise than it was against the Las Vegas Raiders. That has me looking up at this team and, thinking, as long as we can stay healthy, the team has a good shot at going very deep into the playoffs for sure.
Mike, before I toss it to you, I just want to address this comment. Jay Smooth Creativity. I need to get an RIP Steve jersey, but there are restrictions on custom jersey name. My childhood friend and fellow Niner game is a veteran. He committed suicide earlier this year. I am so sorry for your loss, Jay Smooth. Maybe if you contact the team directly, there is something maybe they can work out with you or work with you to get that taken care of. Again, sorry for your loss.
Have him send me an email. Send me an email at mike@nothingbutniners.com. Or actually, you know what? Just send it to nothingbutniners@gmail.com.
Niners spelled out?
Yeah. Yep. Nothing but Niners.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sorry for your loss too. Nothing hurts me more than when my fellow brothers and sisters in the military decide that enough is enough and they take that permanent opt out. I wish that there would have been more that could have been done for that person. I'm sorry for your loss. It's never an answer. If you guys ever feel like that, reach out to somebody, reach out to a hotline, reach out to a friend. Life is precious, and even the darkest days, bad times don't last forever. You know what I mean? Get the help that you need. Sorry for your loss, man. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna make this jersey thing happen for you too. That's what I want you to contact me about. So we'll get that to happen.
All right. Not to shift gears. I know that's serious. Mike, did you have any final thoughts? Or you want to get into the chat pack? Go ahead.
No, I kind of like what the coaching staff did in this game. I think they put the players in a lot of situational football. Every time the defense needed to stop, even the fourth stringers, they got it. Every single time they needed it. I like that they clearly saw something against the Broncos where they said that we can take advantage of certain things when we want to. Let's try this. So I really think this was a phenomenal game for evaluation on both sides of the ball. The offensive line stood tall when it needed to. This was the first time I can't just the first time because last game and then this one, right? But down the stretch, the offensive line looked a little bit better than what it did down the stretch last week. So I thought that those guys showed some improvement. Elm Manning, he was all the rave following the Raiders game. This week, kind of go stock down there, like it just wasn't as good as what all the hype was. Maybe, again, people start reading the clippings and start seeing their names so much. And he was kind of it wasn't a bad day, but it was nowhere near as good as what his previous performance was against the Raiders. So overall, really, really good evaluation for all players. And the receivers, the whole receiving core was really, doing their job They were really, really doing their job out there, willing blockers and all that. So it's going to be good. The Niners are in good hands. We're going to be all right this year.
By the way, shout outs to the defense at the end of the game, getting that 3-and-out when the team needed it the most to be able to drive back down the field and get that score. Yeah, nice. I agree with you. I like everything the Niners did. Shout outs to Russell Wilson. He still looks busted. He did not look good.
Yeah, agreed. All right, my final thoughts, then we'll get into the chat pack. Matt, I think you touched on this. Effort. The team gave much more effort Saturday night. Looked like they were actually trying. I appreciated the game. I appreciated the situations, I should say, that they were able to put themselves in. Kyle kind of joked that maybe Ayuk and his teammates ran onto the field to allow them to get into a game-winning situation with the field goal. Clearly wasn't the case, but I appreciate it. And look, I appreciate them being so hyped to finally get that out of their good friend and colleague Trey Lance, and even Cameron Latu, seeing them succeed got them that happy. So I do appreciate that. All right, let's get into this chat pack time. This one I pulled seems fitting, maybe a little deep. What is the greatest lesson in life you have ever learned? And if you guys want to comment, if you want to participate in the chat, please do. Mine
is short. Time isn't real, yet it's the most valuable thing you'll ever get. Damn. That's it. That's it. I think it's self-explanatory. So just enjoy each moment. That's it.
Hey, I like it. Matt, you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
This is tough. I think the greatest lesson in life that I've learned is it's really not that important. Like, there's so much shit that you probably think every day. You need to get this done, you need to get that done. But it really isn't. You know what I mean? It's like if it doesn't happen, nothing's going to end. The world's not going to end tomorrow. There's so much pressure we put on ourselves day in and day out that really is just internalized and coming out of our own brain. And I think most people are way too hard on themselves, and we just need to stop for a minute and really, again, like the saying, smell the roses, really take it all in. Like Mike said, or reference to, we're only get one of these lives, right? Like, so let's make the most of it while we're here, really be present in every single moment and not take it for granted. That's my biggest life lesson, I guess.
I've got a couple. Like, one is you're in control of your own heaven or hell, right? You can't control the things that happen to you, but you absolutely are in control of how you respond to those things. And that follows you throughout all life, right? Somebody's being shitty to you. You can either respond in kind, or you can take a step back, compose yourself, and really, handle yourself in a different sort of way. Being grateful every day and using that as a source of strength is something that, it's easy to take things for granted, but to truly be grateful makes you appreciate things more. And, being grateful for things, I think, is something that a lot of people have kind of forgotten about. And being kind and true kindness, I think, is things that people have forgotten about. And lastly, I think that, make sure that if you see something, go for it. Life has a funny way of people who are entitled and want stuff handed to them never end up seeming to be happy. Life has a way of putting things just out of reach and wanting you to make some effort for it. But I think that if you don't go for it, if you're not willing to make the mistake, then you don't deserve the reward, right? If you seldom put yourself out there to make mistakes, then you're seldom going to make new innovation for yourself, new discoveries about yourself, and better yourself as a person. So becoming better starts from within, and you either get bitter or better from your circumstances, right? You make a mistake and something goes wrong, you can be bitter about it and learn nothing, or you can become better for that mistake. I think that, you need to take an attitude. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Great ending. I love that. And great lessons from both of you guys. All right. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Red Gold Standard Podcast, everybody. You get football coverage, life lessons, deep conversations. You get it all here. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe. Each and every single video will be hand delivered to your door, along with a custom cake. There are state restrictions. It does not apply to any state. So make sure you hit like, hit subscribe. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Mike, the folks already know, but plug what you got to plug. Get the word out there. Nothing But Niners is killing it, baby.
Yeah.
Let them know.
Shout out to everybody that has recently subscribed to the channel. It's pretty cool. You can go and there's buttons you can click and just see the new subscriptions in the last week, in the last 28 days, and the numbers are climbing. But I want to encourage and tell everybody, make sure you subscribe over here to 49ers Hive, because these joint shows are done once the season starts. I can't say that enough. They will not be dual streamed over on the Nothing But Niners channel. So if you want to see this content, normally I'm smoking and I got a couple drinks in my system and I'm probably cursing more. But today was a calm day because I had to focus on a stupid draft. But guys, get over here, follow them over here, 49ers Hive, spread the love, and you'll get more content just like this during the regular season.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you coming on as always. Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. Actually, Mike, I was going to ask you maybe if you could be available this week coming up, because I may or may not be able to join the show. My daughter should be here this week.
There we go, baby.
So I'm very excited about that. I got the fantasy football championship belt. I'm going to have my daughter in my arms this coming week. I will be back for the regular season no matter what, but I may not be able to make it back for the dress rehearsal game. So if you want to fill in or if you want to join us, that'd be great. Thank you guys as always for joining us, and we love having you here. So from the bottom of my heart for Mike, who is always kind enough to join us, for Zach, who keeps the show running, for myself, who's going to bring a new addition into this world and surviving a hurricane right now. As always, until next time, go Niners.